Cool. Good morning. Morning. Welcome. Grab your drink. Grab a seat. If you're just coming back in online, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's super cool to be together. I don't know if you've watched any sport over the weekend. So the Olympics have been on. I'm not even going to bring up the FA Cup, so some of you have already abused me, and I'm not going to stand for any more of it. But also the rugby, of course, started, didn't it? You know, so if you're watching a bit of the Six Nations, so it's like a big weekend for sport. Lots going on. I just might imagine somebody who really liked rugby. I mean, like really liked rugby. They liked to talk about it. They were quite keen about it. You know, they were sort of, interested in it, if you like. You know, they watched the games whenever they could. They participated. They liked to, if they were with a friend, they liked to discuss it. But just imagine if that same individual sort of didn't really like going to training. You know, if they just thought, well, I don't really like the idea of having to give up my time or work hard, or, it's really sweaty and it's really muddy, and sometimes you do it in the rain. And what if they had this sort of feeling where they were like, I don't really want to do any of that kind of stuff. It's a bit too much like hard work. I mean, they like the idea of rugby, and if you ask them, you could say like, well, are you on the team? Yeah. I'm on the team. I've got the kit. I've got the kit, but they never actually show up for any training or practice. Would be kind of a weird idea. I've just been told to turn it around. You can tell that I am like such a keen rugby fan that I turned around the wrong way. How about that? I have no idea what team this is either, so there we go. Oh yeah, that's what it was. I'm just getting you back for the football abuse anyway. So if anybody wants to wash your window, here you go. No. So yeah, I mean, to be sort of really liking the idea of rugby, but not really actually participating in what it means to be part of the team, that idea is totally inconceivable. Or what if you imagine this? What if you imagine a soldier? So you have a soldier, and they've joined the army, but they sort of think, well, I don't really like the basic training. I don't like the skill stuff. I like the idea of sort of camaraderie and working together and doing things. I like the idea of missions, but I don't really like the idea of it costing me to be in the mission. And so this person says, well, how can you be a soldier? Well, I've got the armed forces card. Of course I am. But if you're not really in it, you're not really in it. They might like the idea of it, right? Or what if you got someone who gets married and, they like the idea of marriage, but then they discover it's too much like hard work. Now, if you're married, you know that what I said is true. So, if you're not yet married, you've just been warned, okay? So they're like, this is like too much hard work. I'd rather sort of just play on my Xbox, or I'd rather go out with my friends when I want to go out with my friends. I'd rather spend my money the way I want to spend my money. And you can get somebody who's married. You might have had someone like this in your life at one point. Someone who's actually married, but in reality, it's like they're still living as they're being single. And they try to be married, but they're actually living as if they're single because it's just all a bit too much hard work. But they like the idea of being married. And, they sort of prefer like the idea of when you're just together at the coffee shop, or you're just like walking around and enjoying creation. That's their special place, if you like. That's what they enjoy more. And if you ask them, are you married? Like, yeah, I've got a ring on. I've got a ring. So, of course I am. You and I all know this, whether you follow Jesus or not, whether you're a Christian or not, whether you've been at church your whole life or this is your first time with us, you know this is true. You can't mix these two things. To separate the idea of trying to still be married and still being single is inconceivable. Inconceivable, to quote Fazzini from Princess Bride, right? You can't be a soldier in the army without being in the army. To separate it is inconceivable. The idea of trying to enjoy the idea of being in a rugby team but actually not really being in the team, to separate that is inconceivable. It's totally inconceivable. And you and I know that. And somehow they're not able to be separated, and they really can't be separated. They shouldn't be separated. And we've been doing this series on what it means to follow Jesus. And if you're just joining with us or tracking along, I'm so glad you're here. But I'm just going to tell you now, this is really, really helpful for you to know up front. If you're not yet a follower of Jesus, you can actually just sort of ignore most of what I'm going to say this morning. Because what I'm going to talk about is actually what applies to people who have chosen and decided to follow Jesus. And really good news, if you're still thinking about it, and you're still exploring what it means, then this could be really helpful for you because it'll help you know what it means to really, what it costs or what it demands, if you like, of what it means to when we say we're followers of Jesus. Because those ideas can't be separated that we just talked about a moment ago. But there's some stuff that we try to separate. There's this idea, have you heard many people say this, I follow Jesus, but I don't really belong to a local church. Now, for the first followers of Jesus, that statement in and of itself is totally inconceivable. It's an impossibility. That concept just never existed in their thinking. And what we're going to look at today is how being a follower of Jesus means that you are connected to something bigger than yourself. How many times have you heard another Christian say that they think their church is really just being at the pub with their two friends, or their church is just being on a walk, or their church is just doing sort of the stuff that they want, when they want, and how they want, and doesn't actually demand or require anything of them. So of course we like it, because none of us like demands. Can we be really totally honest? We really prefer the easy way. We totally prefer the easy way. I'd rather have medication than deal with the root issue. Sometimes we'd, rather somebody just tell me how to fix things, or maybe I'll just have you pray for my relationship rather than actually have to deal with all the junk that's causing the problems in the relationship. Or we want the easy way, like, I just want you to give me a silver bullet to fix what's going wrong with my family. Just pray for my family and fix it all. But we don't want to actually take the hard graft to sometimes wrestle with what's causing the problems in the first place. Wouldn't we rather just eat the cream cake as opposed to be on a diet? Like, we just all like the easy way. So let's just get that out front. Let's just have a little moment of self-disclosure, self-confession. We all like the easy way, and I know that. And that's okay. I understand that. That's human nature. It's also easier to make excuses. We justify what we've done and why we've done it. We find that easier than actually taking responsibility for the real issues going on. And also, we live in a society that is so self-absorbed. It's totally self-focused. It's all about me. It's all about what I want. I deserve to be happy. I deserve this. And I've had plenty of friends and colleagues over the years in the workplace and friendship environment where even their idea of relationships changed because they deserve something better. They deserve to be happy. They deserve something else. And once it gets harder work, it's no longer fun and exciting, and they just move on. Maybe you know people like that. Maybe you've felt some of those feelings as well. And in some ways nowadays, it's much easier for us to do local church community on our own. Podcasts, online, we can do what we like when we like. In fact, you can find all the teachings that you prefer. You can find all the things that you like that don't challenge you. You can find the music that you like. You can put it at the volume you like. You can put it at the style you like. And you don't have to sit with anybody else. That's a lot of, that's quite attractive for a lot of people. But we can do it on our own. I'm not going to step out of my way to get involved with something. I don't really like Zoom, so I'm not going to do Zoom. It's so easy to find things that we don't like to do. And I'm not trying to step on any toes here. I'm just trying to say we are all guilty of, at times, being self-absorbed. Now, this is where you're saying, I am so glad Joel said at the beginning that if I'm not a follower of Jesus, I could ignore everything. You can ignore all this stuff that we've just been talking about. Because if you're not a follower of Jesus, that's okay. You don't have to sort of begin to change your living to surrender your life to Jesus. You don't have to do that because you're not a follower of Jesus. But if you are, then we need to lean in and pay attention. We've been doing this series called Follow Me and just been exploring exactly what it means to follow Jesus. If you've missed any of them, you can just catch them on the YouTube channel. You can catch the series. Today is the last one out of 5. And, this whole idea of the local church being so ingrained into what it meant to follow Jesus is the first followers understood this. They understood that when they said yes to following Jesus, they became part of something. They became part of it. And it wasn't a membership. So here's what a membership is. You might be a member of a gym, but you don't actually have to go. You might be a member of an Air Miles club. I'm probably a member of I don't know how many different airlines. When you travel over the years, you used to travel a lot. When you travel over the years, you just get every time you fly, you sort of tick the box and say, yes, add me to the Air Miles program because I think I'm going to fly with you again, and I never have, right? Yeah, I have got Singapore Air, Malaysian Air, I've got LL, I've got just so many different airline miles. It was quite helpful when some of them amalgamated, right? But a membership is that easy. In a sense, you can just become a member of something without actually having to do anything. And so following Jesus isn't a membership. It isn't a club. It's not this thing that you participate with in a sense. And so we actually here at New Life Church, we don't really use the word being a New Life Church member very often because membership just culturally is just kind of membership. I mean, you can be a member at the local coffee shop, every time you go in you get a little stamp, it's something more than just being a member. And membership is easy, but following Jesus is not. Following Jesus is more like joining a rugby team, more like becoming a soldier in the army, or more like being married. It's something that costs you. You learn to live differently and you learn to love differently. Following Jesus changes us, and it takes a commitment. And when you follow Jesus, you become part of something bigger than yourself. This is what it meant for the early followers of Jesus. They knew it wasn't a philosophy. It wasn't just this new moral ethic to live by. They became part of something bigger than themselves. Here, look at this. Here's the first time Jesus gathered some people to follow him. Here's a verse. And it's in Matthew 4. And they understood that when you follow Jesus, you become part of a core, a pack, a team. I don't know, this group, this gathering, yeah? And in Matthew 4, verse 18 to 19, it says this. It says, so Jesus was walking along the Sea of Galilee, yeah? And he sees 2 people who are fishing, 2 brothers, Simon and Andrew. He says, follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. So, see, they knew from the very beginning, if they said yes to following Jesus, something will change. They're joining a cause. In fact, they've done things previously, and it's going to change the way they've done things previously because they're now doing things a different way. They're going to learn to live and love differently. Follow me, and I will. So Jesus is doing the work in our lives. I will make you guys, you collectively. It wasn't just follow me, and I'll make just you, Andrew. Peter's had it, No, follow me, and I'll make you, collective, fishers of men. He didn't say, hey, just follow me, and let's just see where we end up. You know what? I've heard there's like a new restaurant over here. Let's just go for a little wander and see what it's like. It wasn't sort of like shapeless. It wasn't like, oh, you know what? Did you know that so-and-so's got some new camels? And maybe we could go and like buy a new camel. We could see what the camels are like. Should we go check it out? Yeah, cool. Let's check it out. And they just go check it out. It isn't like a sat nav. It wasn't just like, okay, yeah, let's just see where we go, where we go, where we go. See, it has intentionality and it has purpose. Follow me and I will make. I will make. I will make. If you go home and make lunch, make dinner, make pudding, make a dessert, whatever you do, at some point this week, at some point today, you will make something. Some of you have made your bed. If you haven't, raise your hand. Just kidding. No, you will make something. When you make something, it takes intentionality. It's not shapeless. I will make you fishers of men. Jesus is doing the work in their lives, and they know that there's an intentionality to it, and there's a purpose to it, and it's something bigger than themselves, because what they've been doing before and the way they've been doing it has changed. And it's not just an activity that they get to participate with. It totally changed the direction of their lives. It wasn't a either or. It was a total change to the direction of their lives. And when we follow Jesus, it should actually be life-changing. It should change our lives. Now, this is the very beginning for Simon, who later became known as Peter. It's the very beginning for these guys. And they didn't know the end from the beginning, and they had loads of mistakes, and they did loads of screw-ups as they carried on. You can read about it. This is why the Bible is so cool and so honest. You can read about it. But they knew from the beginning there was a process. There was something going on. And they knew, join with me and your life will have a different focus. Join with me and your life's mission will change. For them, it actually meant they stopped fishing for real fish, and Jesus said, let's fish for people. I'm going to teach you how to catch something totally different. They had no idea what that meant, right? Because that's kind of weird. What are they going to do, like stand on a city wall and like wait for people to pass? Oh, look, that person's there. They just stopped to buy something at the fruit market. Throw the net down and like drag them up, yeah? They had no idea what it meant, fishing for people. And so when you follow Jesus, you don't know what it might mean. You don't know what the future looks like. But I can tell you this, it's a mission, it's a purpose, and it's intentional. But it's okay to not know what it's going to look like. But it's bigger than you. You're joining something that is bigger than yourself. And when I read these stories of these early followers of Jesus, I kind of think, wow, this is really inspiring. They did so many exciting things. I wish I could be like them. I wish I could like do some stuff like them. And then there's this guy named Paul. We talked about Paul a few times. Paul is like really cool because Paul was somebody who hated this whole startup Jesus follower junk, and he tried to stamp it out. He tried to get rid of it. And then what happened was Paul had this crazy experience where he encountered Jesus, and it totally changed his life. And Paul went from being somebody who hated it and went from somebody who tried to arrest people, torture people, throw them in jail, get them killed, whatever, to being somebody who actually planted churches and became like the greatest proponent of it. In fact, this guy Paul in the New Testament, which is like if you took the book of the Bible, like the New Testament just means kind of the second half. So the New Testament is this like second half of the book, and it's after the life of Jesus when he sort of arrives on the show. And anyway, Paul wrote 13 out of the 27 books. So this dude who hated everything about Christianity ended up writing almost 50% of what we now use as the Bible. That's quite a life change. And in every single one of his books, written to loads of different communities, different cultures, different settings, but every single letter that he writes, it has the same context, the local church. We can't get away from it. It's impossible. The local church is an easy definition, is specific people in a specific place for a specific purpose. That's your local church. We don't need to argue about the size. We don't need to argue about the style. We don't need to argue about the way we put the chairs out or pews or music or shape of buildings. None of that stuff matters. It could be in a home with 15 people. It could be in an auditorium with 15,000. Specific people in a specific place for a specific purpose. That's the easiest, simplest definition, and everything starts with an S and a P. So how about that? It's really cool, yeah? Specific people in a specific place for a specific purpose. You don't have to join the mission of New Life Church, but if you're a follower of Jesus, you need to get stuck in somewhere. Become specific people in a specific place for a specific purpose. And what I love about Paul is as you read about his life, he never got so mature that he outgrew the need for local church. He actually never got so spiritual that he no longer needed one another. In fact, as he gets older, he writes in more and more endearing and personal and intimate terms. And he writes these letters to people. He writes these incredibly intimate and personal greetings. I miss you so much. My heart aches. I can't wait to be with you again. I just wish we were together. In fact, Paul goes the other way. Paul goes deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into what it means to be connected to a local church. And he never got so mature or so spiritual that he outgrew his need for it. It was impossible because to separate the two is inconceivable. This concept is totally inconceivable to the early followers of Jesus. They joined something that was bigger than themselves. And I know it's not really a popular message because it'd be a bit trendier if I didn't really talk about this kind of thing. But anyway, it's impossible to separate the idea of being connected in a local church and being an authentic follower of Jesus. Now, you might have a season in your life where you haven't found a place to be. I understand that. But I'm going to encourage you and challenge you. Get stuck in. Get stuck in. Gather, grow, give, and go is how we kind of talk about it here. And when you read about the stuff that Paul did, it was like, it just goes so deep. So, just awesome. The local church, he just thinks about one another. And the way he talks about it is so crazy. He pushes us into a deeper understanding. And his idea of community wasn't just a bunch of people that like to be together. His idea of community wasn't just a bunch of people who have the same taste in music. His idea of community isn't just a bunch of people who are at the same age and stage of life. It wasn't a bunch of people who have the same economic status. His idea of community had nothing to do with any of those things. See, we have this idea of community, and we think community is cool, but in reality, the most fun that we have in community is when everybody else looks like you and likes the same stuff that you do, and likes the same music that you do, and the same food that you do, makes the same amount of money that you do, and also, it's the group of people who have newborn babies, or it's the group of people who have a dying parent. All of a sudden, life stage, age and stage type of stuff is what defines our community. We make those the things that make community so wonderful. But Paul said none of that stuff had nothing to do with what authentic, true community really, really is. Authentic New Testament community was people from different nationalities, different cultures, different walks of life. And the early church was not one because they were all the same education, skin color, background, or economic status. They were one because of Jesus. We've been doing this study on the book of Philippians, those of us who are in the small group studying the book of Philippians, and the author, she talks about this thing where the Philippian church is made up of this lady who was down by the river, ran her business. This guy who was a jailer. Total different. We know for a fact that these were the first people that were part of this Philippian church community. And they're nothing like each other. They're totally opposite ends. In the early church, if you're reading their church, their unity is based on the work of Jesus, not because they all like listening to the same Jerusalem rock and roll band. Okay? See, Paul pushes us to a deeper understanding of what authentic community really means, but we don't like that because people are annoying. But anyway, because the New Testament church shows us that caring for one another and loving one another, which we talked about a couple weeks ago as a follower of Jesus, it really is annoying, and it gets under our skin. And it's costly, and it's demanding, and I don't like it. Well, I don't like it. Most people don't. But Paul knew that when you follow Jesus, your life was for something bigger than yourself. Listen to what he said about this in Acts. He said this, I consider my own life worth nothing to me. My only aim, my only goal is to finish the race and complete the task that Jesus gave me, telling others the good news of God's grace, of Jesus' grace. I consider my life worth nothing. I'm not going to live my life in pursuit of me and my achievements and my accomplishments. My life is going to be spent in the one thing, giving everything to finish the race, because he knew you couldn't separate the idea of being an athlete and being on the team. I will finish the race and I will complete the task. It's hard work, but I'm going to keep running and I'm going to keep going because I have to tell people about the good news of God's grace. And when a local church community gets so insular, we stop realizing that our mission was always to reach outside. We exist to help people find and follow Jesus. We don't exist to make sure that we all like being together. We exist to help people find and follow Jesus. And Paul knew that. Paul knew that there's actually a bigger mission than just our own comfort and our own self. And when you become part of a follower of Jesus, when you become a follower of Jesus, you join this core. You become part of something. You join a cause, you join a mission, and you get connected into authentic community, hopefully. It's more than just believing in Jesus. It's more than just thinking he's a great guy. Following Jesus is more than just, making sure that you follow him on Twitter and get his updates. Following Jesus is more than just cherry picking bits that you like and ignoring the bits that you don't like. Following Jesus is a surrendering a whole of our lives. And it doesn't happen through willpower, because willpower alone can't make it happen. Just thinking about it won't make it happen. You have to do something about it. I'm going to give you a really, really obvious example. And you'll be impressed if this works, but I'm going to tell you that won't. I'm going to just use my willpower alone to move this TV, okay? I'm going to think about it. I'm going to think about it a lot, actually. You don't know this, but I've been thinking about this for the last 3 days. I've just been thinking about the fact I'm going to be here in front of everybody, and I've got to move this TV with my mind. So I've been working on it. You don't know that, but I've been training behind the scenes. I've been thinking about it all the time. Just been thinking. If I think about it enough, I'll make it happen, right? So I got to, willpower. If I can G myself up enough, if I can get enough energy, I can do it, right? So here we go. Whew. Dr. Strange, eat your heart out, right? Come on, here we go. I got to do it with my arms because that helps me focus my energies, okay? So, right. Maybe I just need to focus more. Maybe I need to think about something more. Maybe I just need to read about it more, study a bit about it more. Maybe I just need to Or maybe we need to do something. When you follow Jesus, it's more about doing something, because it changes the way you live and it changes the way you love. You've been fishing this way before, Simon and Andrew, and you know what? You're going to fish totally differently now. I'm going to take what you know and I'm going to build on it. And it's going to change your life. It's going to change the purpose of your life. It's going to change the focus of your life. And some of us think about things a lot. I am a thinker, to be honest, so that's okay. But at some point, we got to get stuck in. We get involved in the mission. And this is what it means to follow Jesus. When you follow Jesus, you become part of something bigger than yourself, and you get to learn about it, and you get to grow, and you get to discover it as we go. Because you don't know right at the beginning, it's okay. But we have to not only believe, but we act. We put it in action. And that's what we looked at. In this series with Follow, I said this at the very beginning. I said this, I'm going to read it. I said, Jesus inspired people and gave them certainty in their uncertain world. And it all began with this simple phrase, follow me. Do you want to find certainty in an uncertain world? It begins when you follow. Following Jesus gives your life purpose. Following Jesus gives your life security. Following Jesus gives your life direction. Following Jesus changes your life. Following Jesus gives you certainty. We looked at 5 certainties, and here they are. The first one we looked at was every day is an invitation to follow Jesus. Second one was every day we can grow in relationship with Jesus. We can love others like Jesus loved us. These are things that are certainties, things that you can do every single day. Doesn't matter what's happening with viruses, doesn't matter what's happening with politics, doesn't matter what's happening with your job situation, family situation. These are things, these are certainties that we have in the midst of an uncertain world. These are things that we can do. Every day we can love others like Jesus loved us. Every day we can still follow, even when it's tough. And then today we've been looking at every day we can be part of something bigger. Because I want to help you find and follow Jesus. And we want to make it as clear and as obvious what it means to do that. But this is a message that all of us need to hear, whether we're followers of Jesus already or if you're still exploring, which is really cool. If you're here and still exploring, that's just awesome. But we have to take it seriously. It's not easy, and it's not about you. It's not about your comfort. That's what I mean when I say it's not about you. It's not about your comfort. See, Jesus didn't die to make you comfortable. Jesus didn't give his life to make you comfortable and make everything work out perfectly and all of a sudden make gold fall from heaven so your pockets are always full of money. That's just stupid stuff, okay? Jesus did not give his life to make you comfortable. Jesus gave his life to make you a fisher of men, to join a cause bigger than yourself. Jesus gave his life so your life could be totally changed, totally transformed, totally changed from the way it was into something new. He gave his life so you could be part of this. You could learn a new way to live and a new way to love. That's why Jesus gave his life for you. He didn't give his life just to make you comfortable. It's not a holiday club. We're on a battleship. He gave his life to fill you with the mission. Because once you read near the end of the story, when Jesus is about to leave all these guys, he basically hands the baton to them and he says, carry it on. It's over to you now. You guys get it done. You go for it. You do it. Everything I've been teaching you, everything I've been doing, it's now your job. You carry it on. You do it. And Jesus gave everything. It says in Ephesians that he gave his life for the church. He gave his life for the church. Ephesians 5:25. This is what he gave his life for. And the local church is the hope of the world. It's the mission of the world. The hands and feet of Jesus is the local church. Because Paul writes about the local church being the body of Christ. The world sees what Jesus is like when they see us. Jesus said this at the beginning, remember? We looked at it the first week. If people see the way you treat one another, then they'll know that you're a follower of me. For the world to see what Jesus is like, they need to see us. It's over to us. We are the hands and feet of Jesus in this world. It's over to us now. Maybe as we've been chatting, you've kind of realized you sort of prefer the idea of just being a Christian but not really being connected into a local church. But to keep those two separate is totally inconceivable. It's inconceivable. And you don't need to feel pressure to be part of New Life. I'm just encouraging you to get stuck into a local community, a specific people in a specific place with a specific purpose because it's bigger than you. And maybe today you needed to be reminded that we need one another. We need one another just as much as the early church needed each other. We need one another. The local church is God's plan. The local church is God's hope for the world, y'all. Maybe today you needed to have a bit of your passion and vision for the local church maybe stirred up again, reminded again about why we're doing what we're doing and what we've been called to be together. Maybe you needed a little bit of a inspiration with hearing again what God's plan is. If you really want to know what to do next, gather, grow, give, and go. That's what we're going to use it even more within our local congregation. Just a really simple way to remember what it means to be stuck in with one another, to get in and start doing it more. And then maybe today you're here this morning and you're not yet a follower of Jesus. And it's been really cool because you're kind of just like, it's like sitting at a meeting and being able to watch it all and decide which bits of it apply to you. And a lot of this hasn't applied yet because if you're not a follower of Jesus, this really doesn't apply to you. So this is very helpful. So you get to think about what it really means to follow Jesus. And Jesus said, "Follow me." It's a huge ask. It's actually a huge ask. It's not easy. It's a huge ask. And it's going to cost you. It costs all of us who follow Jesus. It costs you. The rewards will be great. You won't be on your own. There's a promise that Jesus will always be with you. It's a promise that his presence will strengthen you and help you do all this stuff and learn and grow because you learn and grow because that's what we all need to do. But it's still a big ask. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. It is a big ask. And so I hope that you will consider it. Weigh up the cost. Think about what it means to follow Jesus. And it's not about making you more comfortable and making life easier. Jesus didn't promise those things, but he did promise that you could be part of something bigger than yourself. And maybe today you're ready to follow Jesus. Maybe today you're like, you know what? I'm ready. I've been tracking along. I've been watching online. I've been here in the room. I've been hearing what's been talked about. And you know what? It's beginning to make sense. It's that piece of the puzzle that just falls into place. And you think, yeah, it's just beginning to settle into place for me. Maybe that's where you're at today. Maybe you're at that place where you know what? Yeah, I am ready to just take a step and say, count me in. I choose to be a follower of Jesus. Here's what it involves. Because it's not about you, it's a surrender of yourself. You yield to Jesus. It's a very easy way to explain it. You just surrender yourself and say, fine, it's over to you. I will follow you wherever you lead me. You will have free reign to speak into my life. You will speak into my thoughts, speak into my actions, help me learn what it means to follow you. You know, I just give you control. I'm no longer able to do it for myself. I cannot rescue myself. I cannot save myself. And therefore, I will accept what you've done for me, which was I died on the cross. I gave my life for you. I came back from the dead to prove that everything I said was true. And so therefore, I surrender to you. And I say, have your way in my life. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to pass any tests because you have been invited. And when you're invited, it's the person that invited you that makes it all credible and valid. And Jesus invites you. This is so cool. We talked about that the first week as well. And then you don't have to do it on your own. We get to journey together with you because we are all learning to follow Jesus. So we're going to wrap up. We're going to close. And I'm going to ask two things. One thing, the first thing, is if you are a follower of Jesus already, just sit in your own heart and ask yourself, how have I diminished or how have I separated the idea of what it means to really follow you? Maybe you haven't, maybe you have. Just sit with that a minute and think, have I somehow tried to separate the idea of what it means to follow you? And then the second ask is this. If you're here this morning or if you're here online and you're not yet a follower of Jesus, I'm going to ask you to make that choice. Will you choose today to follow Jesus, to say, yes, today's the day that I want to make Jesus the Lord, or it means boss, the boss of my life. So we're going to just pray together, and then we'll just chat in a minute. Yeah, Jesus, thank you so much for who you are. God, how incredible that you had this awesome idea of the local church, that you brought to life this very thing that carries your work on, even after you're gone. Wow, thank you. God, forgive us for when we've tried to separate what it means to be a follower from being connected into community with one another. Forgive us, Father. God, forgive us when we've made it more about ourselves and less about your mission. God, thank you so much for brothers and sisters. God, the family that we have, all different walks of life, different experiences, different journeys, different challenges, different celebrations. Thank you so much for one another. God, thank you so much for the youngest to the oldest. Thank you so much that the children run around and remind us sometimes we don't need to stand and be stuffy. But thank you so much for just the mix of community, God. Thank you so much for that. And Jesus, I also pray for anyone who's here today who would like to make their decision to follow you today. I just pray that you would be with them right now, that they'd be able to say in their hearts, yes, I choose today to start following you. In your name we pray. Amen. If for you this morning you felt like, hey, that was me. At the end, I know that I was me, and I feel in my heart, you know what? Yes, today is the day that I choose to follow Jesus. We would love to chat with you, love to just get some time and hang out. So if you want to chat, just be here in the corner or come and find us, please. Come and get us. That would be absolutely great. We'd absolutely love to speak with you and spend some time with you. If you want to explore what it means to follow Jesus, have some questions. There's no question off limits. Let's have a chat, yeah? Otherwise, whatever you got going on for the week, have an amazing week. Just needed a little housekeeping. If you've got children, please collect them ASAP because there's a birthday party coming in at Howard Hall, and we actually have to be out of there sooner today than normal. So if you've got little ones over across at Howard Hall, please, in just a moment, feel free to go get them. You can come back in here because there will be coffee and biscuits, and they will love you even more if you bring them back for biscuits. So feel free to come back in here with your kiddos if you want. But if you don't, have an amazing week. Have an awesome time, whatever you got going on. And then next week, we're going to kick off a new theme. So look forward to being together next week. Thank you.